Hey, I want to take a few moments today to do a range review of my new Tisas. I'm not sure how to pronounce that. A lot of people have told me it's pronounced Tisas, but I call it the Titmouse. I call it the Titmouse Regent BR9 SS. The SS is for stainless steel. And as you may see, this is a stainless steel clone of a Browning High Power. And as far as being a clone goes, it's a very true to the original clone. It's almost identical. In fact, I would say it pretty much is identical except for the Novak sights here. Every part that goes on a Browning High Power fit into this. And I made a lot of changes to this gun. This gun is not stock. If you're interested in the changes I made, I have a video where I made those changes. I'll put a link in the corner here. You can go see the changes I made. I fired about 50 rounds from this gun prior to the changes, and I fired about 500 after the changes, and I'll get into that later in the range review. Now, as far as the manual of arms for the gun, it is a single action only gun, meaning it is a cocked and locked carry type of gun with a manual safety. You carry it cocked and locked, and when you're ready to fire, you just simply release your safety and pull the trigger. It's a very simple, easy to use gun. It's very much like a 1911. Kind of think of it like a 1911 with no grip safety, and it's 9mm. Now, as I've said before, the gun is made of stainless steel. That's what sets it apart from the other Browning High Powers, which are either blued steel, black coated steel, hard chrome, or nickel. They really don't make stainless ones. So this is what sets this apart. That's what makes this gun special, makes it something I've wanted for a long time, is the fact that it is solid stainless steel construction, except for the controls, which are just regular steel. Now, I won't bore you with details of like the weight of the gun or the length of the gun or the height of the gun, because you can look all that up. Basically, what I want to talk about tonight is how it functioned. Now, like I said, the gun has a light single action trigger, a very light trigger. In fact, before I changed the internals on this, the springs, the trigger, everything else, this gun out of the box had about around an 8-pound trigger. It was about 7.5 to 8 pounds, which is kind of heavy for a lot of people who like 1911 triggers, but it's pretty much par for the course for a Browning High Power. In fact, it's pretty good for a Browning High Power. But I will have to say, I did some trigger testing on this gun after I changed out the parts. Now, that single action trigger is coming in at about 4 pounds to 4.5 pounds. The trigger is not only lighter now, it's also much smoother. You can't really feel this on camera, but before, this gun had a very gritty, hard take-up on it because it had a magazine disconnect on it. And you had to decompress that magazine disconnect while you're pulling the trigger, and it was scraping against the magazine, so it added weight and it added a gritty feel. That has now been removed, as you can see in that previous video, so now the trigger take-up is very light and clean and very crisp braking at, like I said, about 4.5 pounds. Now let's talk about how the gun did at the range. That's what most people want to know. And at the range, this gun did very well. Now, I did have a couple of failures right off the bat, but that was ammo from a box of Winchester white box ammo that I had put a red X on before because it was failing in some other 9mm guns. And I have since checked it, and some of the rounds were quite a bit out of spec. The setback was wrong. They were just a little too lengthy. They were too long. So that was causing problems with feeding. I went ahead and shot through the rest of the box and only had like 1 or 2 failures even with that bad box. But then when I moved on to other ammo, like I've said, I've put another 400 and something rounds through it since then. Not a single failure, not even with defensive ammo. So the gun, as far as reliability is concerned, was top notch. Now let's talk about the accuracy of the gun. First, let's talk about the sights. This gun comes with regular 3-dot white dot sights. Now the back is a Novak sight and the front is a dovetailed sight. Just standard basic sights. I would want to add night sights to this if I was going to carry it, but for the range, these were just fine. And the gun did very well at the range. Now, as far as the accuracy was concerned, was really good. These sights were dead on right out of the box. I took the little empty box of defensive ammo that I had with me, sat it on a tree, went back 20 yards, and took a single shot at it, hit it with the first shot. These sights are really on, and I was able to repeat that. And if I can be accurate with this gun, anybody can be accurate with this gun because I'm not the greatest shot. So that was very good. You can see it here in this video, but you know, my son's not the greatest cameraman in the world, but you can see here once he zooms in and tells me and that's okay to go, you can see very first shot, bang, the box is hit from 20 yards. So that's not a great feat of marksmanship, but it does show you that inherently the gun is quite accurate because I was able to repeat that. So in the end, I'm going to have to say the gun is very well put together. It's very reliable. It's dead-eye accurate. So I think we have a winner here as far as concealed carry is concerned, because it is a very thin design gun. It would be very easy to carry. Now it is a little heavy because it is all stainless steel, but that makes for a good solid gun with almost no recoil. At the range, this gun, it felt like you were shooting a pop gun almost. It was definitely 22-like. There was some recoil and a little bit of muzzle flip, but I wasn't really trying to keep the gun super steady as I was just trying to feel it out. If you're someone who likes to shoot and you want to hold your gun steady, I bet you could hold this gun with almost no noticeable rise whatsoever if you wanted to put the effort into it. So since this gun looks good, is well put together, is very reliable and very accurate, I think it's a great gun. It would make a great carry gun. Now I am going to have to add a couple of things here at the end. There are a couple problems with the original gun straight out of the box, and that's why I did some of my changes. The extractor on the other side of the gun here, right here, the stock extractor is weak. After about 1,000 rounds, you might have some problems with it. BH Spring Solutions did a 6,000 round torture test of this gun. After 1,000 rounds, they had a problem with the extractor. So that's why I went ahead and changed that out. Also, another known weak spot on the gun is the rear plate back here, the one that holds the firing pin in place. After about 5,000 rounds, you can have problems with that. So I went ahead and replaced that. Even though a lot of people won't ever put 5,000 rounds through their gun, I put 500 and threw it in a day. So didn't want to take any chances. So I went ahead and replaced that with an original Browning part instead of the part from Titmouse. Now, one negative I will say that might bother some people, but it didn't bother me, is that the gun was not ambidextrous right off the bat. Like I said, I made a lot of changes. It was originally just a strong side safety. It did not have the ambidextrous safety. I added that. The part is not expensive. None of the parts you have to replace here are expensive. You can replace all the parts you need to for well under $100. And this gun only retails for like $550. So you have a stainless steel Browning high power for under $650, and you can't even touch just a blued Browning high power for that. So that's quite a bargain as far as the gun itself is concerned. So for now, I am very happy with this gun. I'm going to give this gun an A+ rating. I couldn't really find anything significantly wrong with this gun. Now that A+ is contingent on making those small changes. If you don't make those changes, I'm going to call it a B. You know, and it could go lower if there turns out to be other issues with the gun, other parts that aren't up to par or aren't quite up to par. But, you know, time will tell on that. BH Spring Solutions is doing some further testing on theirs. If they pass any information on to me, I'll pass it on to you. But for now, I'm going to have to give the Titmouse BR9 SS top ratings as far as a carry gun or a range gun is concerned.